Welcome back. Let's give a week 3 update of trying to build a motorcycle clothing apparel when I know nothing about the clothing manufacturing process. So last week I gave the update that we were talking about the sampling process. So my contact, he had gotten some samples from a few like Moto apparel companies. We looked at one. I talked about like the flannel he got. It looked exactly like this like Sheena flannel I had. So I'm pretty sure the one that I had is actually made there. It looked like the exact same thing. This week we ran into some couple of unique challenges and a very big learning experience for me. One, sizing. So getting very detailed into the sizing specs for the samples that will come to me. And so essentially we are going to build samples so I can test the materials and how they look, but they're going to be tailored to me, which is unique. And I have a very unique body shape by all means. Actually, my friends used to make fun of me. They said I had like a big butt. Like all the girls in the gym that are doing like the hip thrust, they should be jealous because I was just born with a big butt. I don't know why. Maybe I eat too much, who knows. But I am definitely not a standard size person. So, and I don't have like a standard size shape, to be honest with you. And one unique learning point is that as we are going through this process, I have to think about the masses and not about my unique sizing characteristics or challenges. So that was very much a learning experience. That's the word I'm looking for. And just how to actually properly measure a garment, some of the key points of like where a reference point is on a garment, some unique challenges with like a Moto garment, because like especially in a pair of pants, you generally have a seam, an extra piece of cloth down the middle to give you more movement. So it creates a challenge in actually creating what you call a crotch point, or the center point of which you measure everything else off of. That was a unique learning experience. I am going to potentially meet up with a measuring expert, a garment measuring expert on Saturday that has just been measuring garments for 20 plus years. Their entire expertise is measuring garments, which I think is also a unique thing, an amazing thing in the world today, in the opportunities that are available to you if you really want to try the internet, right? Having a technology company, I already know this, but you don't realize that like I can talk to a person who lives halfway around the world, who is a garment measuring expert to help give me tips and guidance on size runs and everything that we need. I also learned in sizing that we Americans are quite fat. So if don't take offense to this, it's just the truth. Actually, my contact, I also learned that I've been working with, he has helped to deploy millions of pairs of denim jeans for big companies like Levi's and a few other companies, Seven, a few other like big jean manufacturers. And the sizing actually is generally 2 inches smaller than what the actual size is. So like I generally wear a 34-inch pant. That's my waist. That is actually a 36-inch pant. So if these companies were being honest, I should be wearing a 36-inch pant. What is unique is that they said that all companies do this, and technically we will also do that. So when we're measuring a garment against standard sizing for the US, like a 36-inch pant will actually be a 34, a 36 will be a 38 when you actually measure the waist, which is unique. So I'm a lot wider than I thought I was at a 36 and not actually a 34. So maybe it's time to ride the mountain bike more and less on the dirt bike. Although they say abs are made in the kitchen, so maybe I should just stop eating all the foods that I love so much and eat some healthier foods. Okay, so enough on sizing. Let's talk about some unique textiles or clothing challenges. And this is one of those areas where I feel like you have to reposition the problem. So when we were thinking about the different materials and looking, I'm going to start getting my hands on some actual like swatches and some other samples here soon. And my contact was teaching me that a lot of companies, so when you think about competing against the bigger companies, so in my case, like the Moscow Motos or the Climbs or the Revits, you name it, those bigger companies, they have dedicated teams that their entire job is to analyze and find textiles down to the fiber, right? Like they're analyzing individual fibers to be used in the materials, and they're making their own fibers. And so then you start to think, well, how can I, as somebody who knows nothing about clothing manufacturing, compete with these brands? Because I am competing roughly for the same customer base, right? The other thing is, actually, I need to change my mind, because I was about to say there's only a limited customer base. That is not true. And I have learned there are a lot of customers, especially like in my technology business, where they're not a right fit for me. So I have talked to other people like who own technology companies that want to come into the US market, and I'm like, I will help you, because there's no way that given the size of the current market that we potentially could go after can support all of them, and likely not want to support all of them. I actually know a few customers where if they came to us, I'm like, I'm sorry, we're just not a right fit. You're not an ideal customer for me. I think you should work with this other company who's doing really good things. So I caught myself there. I need to shift my mindset. So when you're going after a similar market, how you start to think like, well, how can I differentiate myself as a smaller person with more unique challenges when they have entire teams dedicated to building fabrics down to the individual fibers and building their own woven fabrics, etc. Then I realized, well, the thing is a lot of these bigger manufacturers are using the same manufacturing plants or facilities for these clothes that we'll be going to. So if we find the right one, we technically can get access to a lot of the same materials that the bigger brands have spent years and years R&Ding to figure out to use. And then an example, there's like DuPont Kevlar, which is a trademark registered product, but there is a quote unquote generic brand. And I talked a little bit about this, I think in my second video, in that basically we're gonna get abrasion resistance tests on both of them to see what the difference is. And so it'll be interesting to see, like, is the generic the same as the name brand? And does the name brand just give us more street cred? So should we spend twice the amount of money? I don't know. My initial thought is no, to be completely honest. Like, if we can accomplish the same goal, not only save ourselves money, but then save you guys, like the end consumer money too. Like, why not save money? I'm not sure. I always think about that too in my tech business. Like, we can always spend money later. So as we're building out new facilities, etc., I'm like, look, we can always buy more things. So how do we save money now? And then we can always add later, right? So getting back to this original point is that I had to flip the script and like, well, you know, you start thinking, well, how can I compete? And it's just all this naysaying and it's death by 1,000 cuts. But I think we can flip the script to say, well, we actually have access to a lot of the same and similar materials that the big brands spent a lot of money to develop and now are sending to these manufacturers. And so we can get our hands on similar products to create a similar product with a least barrier of entry, right? Because they've spent a lot of money R&Ding this. And on a caveat, we're not using anything that is trademarked or proprietary or anything as such. So these are materials that are widely available and that are used in a lot of garments, but it's taken a long time to get there. So I think we do have an advantage if we flip it, in that we don't have to spend as much money to be able to use these same materials. The other companies spent decades or years learning were better materials for abrasion resistance, comfortability, flex, etc. Another learning thing I learned was that in sampling, a lot of times these bigger manufacturers, like when you fill out basically your blueprint for the garment that you want built, they will actually source the materials themselves, and they pretty much put a part number in there, and then they send the materials directly to the manufacturers. So that seems really overwhelming, but then you start to think about it, well, these garment manufacturers know what some of these generic and widely available materials on the open market are, and so we can source them and get the same things. And we can actually use the manufacturer because they know that we're smaller and we're trying to figure this out, and so they want to be able to help us so that ideally we're successful, and then we can create bigger runs. And if we create bigger runs, we send more money their way. Their families make more money, hopefully. Hopefully that's the other challenge, right? Is finding businesses that hopefully treat their employees right and are doing good things. And like, as we're being successful, they're successful, and it's just like, you know, it's a good self-sustaining circle, right? Like everybody benefits. So those are the things and challenges we worked on. This week I'm working on, I have some, I think I mentioned I have the logo out, so you should see the logo now on a lot of my videos. I did apply for a trademark for that because I am just being so open about this process. You know, feel free to steal all of my ideas in this, but don't steal my logo. Come up with your own logo. So I wanted to trademark that just to protect myself. So if you've made it this far, make sure to subscribe, leave a comment below, tell me why you think this is a stupid idea, tell me why you hate my videos, leave the nastiest comment you can think below. I embrace it. I'm not afraid to hear the terrible things. Although I gotta be honest, a lot of you guys are so nice and I really appreciate it. And I actually like all the good feedback. And actually somebody gave me a great tip on my Honda CRF 450 video on some suspension tuning tips, so I'm going to do that. So actually, you guys have been great, but I welcome the trolls because they've kind of died off, and I'm going to embrace it. You know, you just got to, the internet can be a dark and scary place. So this week, we're working on some cool t-shirt designs. I mentioned that. Have pretty much the designs pretty much finalized. I have to approve those with my graphic designer. And then I'm kind of running up against a challenge here. There is a good local person that can actually print the shirts for me here and get good quality shirts that are already available. I mean, just doing basic printed t-shirts, not anything too crazy. So it's like, do I support somebody here in my local small town, or do I send them to my guy because he can also do it? That's a little bit of a challenge. Tell me what you think below. Should I do the t-shirts and potentially hats and sort of stuff like that, kind of easy merchandising stuff with my local guy here in my small town on the western slope of Colorado? Or should I send it to my guy overseas who's helping me figure out this whole thing because he said he can do it too? I'd be interested in, like, what do you guys think? Should I support the local guy or the guy I'm working with overseas? Anyways, speaking of which, I got to meet his daughter, and she was super awesome, and that kind of motivates me because I'm like, oh, like I want you to be successful. I want to see like you be able to like provide for your daughter and your family, and like hopefully we can really build this thing together and do cool things. And I think I mentioned that before. That's what really motivates me, is like helping people and having fun doing it along the way. Like if you can do that, it's awesome. Anyways, I'm getting long-winded. Hit subscribe, notify, all that stuff. It's free. It doesn't cost you anything. It helps the channel. Almost to 1,000 subscribers, and that does help because then I can make like $5 or $10 a month, which I could use to help produce some of these materials on the ad revenue. I don't think it'll be much. It might be like maybe $20 a month, but that's 20 more dollars a month I can invest in making hopefully some cool stuff that you guys will enjoy. So until next time, subscribe, leave a nasty comment below, and until next time, stay safe out there.